everyone. Welcome to Rainbow Connections, a show where we interview creators in the TTRPG space about their creations and introduce you to some amazing projects. I am Serafina Smith for Streaming Rainbow. Today, we have Riley Rethal with us, the designer of Galactic, a game inspired by the Star Wars trilogies, which is being re-released in a new format along with the Rogue One and Andor-inspired Going Rogue. Welcome, Riley. We're glad to have you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Hey. Well, let's jump right into it. First of all, let's introduce the game. In your words, what is Galactic?
Yeah, so Galactic is, and I think we're going to get into the different sort of bits of this description, so I'll just be brief. Galactic is a belonging outside belonging game inspired by Star Wars. I guess I would say it is about what Star Wars could be.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Cool. Okay, so before we go further, I should mention that Galactic and its sister game Going Rogue are being put into print together, and there is a Kickstarter going on for it right now that you can back. Tell us about the Kickstarter and the inception of this whole project.
Yeah, so in 2021, I published Galactic Second Edition, and people were really excited about making like supplemental material for it, which was very cool. So I hosted a game jam on Itch, and one of the people who did that was Jess Levine. She made this awesome supplement called Going Rogue, inspired by her love of Rogue One. And then she sort of developed that. And that was her first like big game design thing too, which is really cool. And then like a year or two later, she did a second edition of Going Rogue that basically made it its own game. So that's why I sort of am calling it like a supplement / sister game, because it basically is its own game now. And it was really good for me because like in 2021, I sort of was moving away from TTRPG design just because like I started pharmacy school and I was doing more like prose fan fiction writing, and Jess was getting into it and was kind of pulling me along. So, you know, that's been great for me to have. And so now she's doing TTRPG design and writing full time. So she's been doing all of the like project managing and everything for this. I'm just sort of here as the original game designer, and I'm the Mon Mothma of the project, as we keep saying, and she's the Luthen. So that's been great. We've got 2 actual plays. One, the Galactic one is on the Party of One podcast feed, facilitated by Jeff Stormer, and the Going Rogue one, which I literally just finished listening to right before this, is on the One Shot feed, facilitated by Austin Walker. Those are both awesome. We've got a bunch of cool writers for the fiction supplement, which is going to sort of go in depth on like world building stuff. The game doesn't have any like official lore, so we really wanted to sort of get to explore different versions of the world building. And yeah, we funded in an hour, less than an hour. So, you know, it's great.
Yeah. Funding in an hour is amazing.
Yeah, I was having like a terrible day at work, and I just had that page open and was just tabbing over to it every like 5 minutes, being like, okay, at least I can watch number go up.
Yes. Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm a backer. I'm excited about the Kickstarter personally. So about the games, both the games use the belonging outside of belonging system. Tell me what it is about BOB that you found so appropriate for your game. And I'm also interested in learning what you tweaked or added to the system to better fit your vision for this game.
Yeah, so Belonging Outside Belonging is a game system that originated with Dream Apart and Dream Askew by Benjamin Rosenbaum and Avery Alder, respectively. Those are games about Jews in a shtetl in the 1800s and a queer post-apocalyptic enclave, respectively. They're both really cool games. And the 2 sort of main features of BOB are your playlists, your playbooks are defined in pick lists.
Maybe your playlist.
So, yeah, you know. I mean, if somebody wants to make some sort of Galactic playlist, that would be awesome. Please do that. What was I saying? Oh, so you have these like lists of things that your character can be, and then you get to pick which ones apply to your character and like talk about it as a group. And then the other main thing that it has is moves. So BOB is sort of an offshoot of the Powered by the Apocalypse system, which is probably more familiar to people. And instead, its sort of other moniker is no dice, no masters. So no dice, we're using tokens, and then no game master, it's GMless. So you have a list of moves. In the original BOB, there are 3 kinds of moves. There's weak moves where you gain a token, strong moves where you spend a token, and regular moves where you can just sort of do it. I pretty quickly got rid of regular moves just because like they didn't work for me as a player or as a designer. So my first BOB game, Venture, and then also Galactic First Edition, they just didn't have regular moves. I have sort of talked since with other BOB designers who do like regular moves, and I respect them as a thing that some people like and play, but I'm good. I don't need them. And let's see, am I going out of order? Oh, and then the other thing with the no masters is instead of having a game master, you have what are originally called setting elements, but then in Galactic, I've renamed pillars, which are basically, elements of the setting that are important in whatever world it is. And you get to sort of create that together. And then when you're in a scene, or when other people are in a scene that maybe you're not in, you can pick it up and act as those things. They have a list of moves, and that's sort of how you share and distribute the GMing role. So as far as the changes that I've done in BOB, I guess I should say, I always forget this, but the first big one is actually in Venture, my first BOB game, which was sort of inspired by D&D and being like, what if we got really into like what these character archetypes mean for the characters? The big thing that I added was in the pick list, they would have something that are like, choose who you are. And I went and I said, okay, choose who you are and who you are not. So that was a big one. I really like having double things in lists. I don't think I was like literally the first person to do that. I think there's 1 or 2 of those in Dream Apart and Dream Askew, but I sort of made that like a centerpiece of the game. Then for Galactic 2nd Edition, I basically just like supercharged the token economy. So in original BOB, there are strong moves and weak moves, and then there's also your playbook has a lure, which is like, if you interact with me in this way, you gain a token. So those are the only token things happening. I've never really liked lures because they're very specific. Each playbook only has 1, and also the only person who can see it is the person who can't interact with it. So it's just didn't really hit for me. Actually, in first edition of Galactic, I changed lures. Instead of to be on playbooks, I put them on setting elements. So they would have some sort of interaction there. That was sort of like baby's first Galactic 2nd Edition. But then in 2nd Edition, so I've added what I'm calling lateral moves, where you give someone else a token instead of necessarily spending it. So I really wanted tokens to act as sort of spotlight in the game. I think that there's a tendency sometimes to think of tokens as like, oh, this is like a power that I have that I can spend to do, the powerful protagonist thing. Which it absolutely, like, I'm not saying it's not, but there's one playbook might have a lateral move that's like hurt someone and give them a token. Another one might have heal someone and give them a token. These are not measures. These are not HP. They're not success tokens. It's just, here I'm using this narrative spotlight and I'm giving it to you. Then the other big thing with the tokens is I have given pillars, originally known as setting elements. I've given them part of the token economy too. So now you can give tokens to to pillars. You can the pillars are going to be gaining tokens and then spending them by giving them to other people. So there's a lot of interaction. It's a much bigger token economy than the original game, which I think, I don't think it's like I think it's like a really natural evolution for BOB, but I also, I think that Dream Apart and Dream Askew work really well the way that they are, because they are so inherently community focused that you don't need like to be keeping track of all of this stuff. I think it'd be very kind of goofy to be, to be like, I give 1 token to the forest,
Mm-hmm.
But I think it works really well with the sort of action adventure format of Galactic.
Okay. That was fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a lot of thoughts on belonging outside. But I should also say, there are lots of other great BOB designers in the space. Jay Dragon, who wrote Wander Home, one of the foremost BOB designers. Wander Home, absolutely, like Galactic Second Edition would not exist without Wander Home. It's done some really, really cool stuff with the system.
Excellent. So since Galactic is a GM-less game, as you mentioned, as well as playing the heroes of the story, they also play the pillars, like the Mandate and the Space Between, which are the oppressive political body and the mysterious connective force that defines
legally distinct.
Yes, absolutely, not any copyrighted thing at all. What does that look like in play? Like, how does that make the narrative structure different from other games that we might have played?
Yeah, so I do think this is kind of funny because I'm like a weird anomaly of TTRPGs. I should never have gotten this far in the TTRPG space because I'm not like, I got into TTRPGs through actual play. I listened to Critical Role and then the Adventure Zone, like on your shirt, shout out, and then Friends at the Table. But throughout that time, like my beginning time in this, getting into that stuff, I was playing in a D&D campaign with some friends. And basically, I just thought that I wasn't good at role-playing games because I really didn't like D&D. And people will say, oh, well, you just got to get a better GM. And I think that's very mean to my friend Katie, who is a great DM. And that whole group is like great. And, I'm still friends with some of them. But it just like, the way that I say it is I don't like playing an individual character who has to like take initiative and act upon the world, because that's what I have to do every day as a real person. And it sucks. My power fantasy is being the narrator. I want to control the world. I want to decide what the failures are. I want to make motifs. That's what's interesting to me. I want to declare what's narratively significant. So Galactic is actually much more similar to like a traditional TTRPG than a lot of the stuff that I play and design. So like when I play Galactic and I'm like picking up a setting element or a pillar, I don't know why I'm saying setting element all the time. They've been called pillars for 4 years. Like when I pick up a pillar and play an NPC, or even like when I'm acting as my own character and just taking individual actions, that's way more like traditional than a lot of the stuff that I do. But I do think that it's very cool for people who are used to the more traditional sort of games, and being able to sort of take that, being able to like play character and play GM at the same time is, I think it's a lot of people. It's a really like cool space to be in, where they can have, everybody gets a little part of the world building and everybody gets to decide something. It's very fun.
I agree. I like to when I'm playing games, I try to distribute the world building a little more than is normal. So
yeah, that was definitely a big thing for me in that D&D game, is like the DM like had this whole world planned out, and I just felt like it was, I don't like video games, and it felt like a video game, where it's like, I don't want to just like go and explore this world that already exists. I'm very like, I'll make a story, but if you want me to like vaguely interact with the concept of the story, I don't need that. Just tell it to me. Listen. I have invented like a new version of not liking video games that no one else in the world has. Right. Like I want to say like other people, like they can do that thing where it's like, I am going into this other person's world and I am going to like make it my own and stuff, which like is awesome. I think that's amazing. But for me, it's like, I got to be there from the beginning. I want to create these characters collaboratively. I want to like talk everything out, ask 1 million questions.
So probably not by coincidence. The term I most want to use to describe Galactic is character driven. So you talk about enjoying using games to explore relationships. What is it that makes that such a focus of yours?
Yeah, this is such a good question because it really gets to the heart of like who I am as a creator, maybe even a person. Um, I think it's really jumped out to me as I've like I said, I sort of moved away from TTRPG design. I miss it so bad every day. And more into like doing prose, fan fiction. Not that I'm against original storytelling, it just like hasn't really grabbed me ever. I would love to at some point if I ever had a story idea. But anyways, like I am an insane person about characterization. I love meeting a character and being like, I'm going to like understand. I'm going to drill to the core of you and figure out what makes you tick and like why you're like this. um I think you can ask any of my friends who've gotten like long DM rants from me about like, no, the fandom does not understand, Eddie Diaz. You do not understand him. I could go off about so many characters, but anyways, it's yeah. I think I am just generally very interested in like individual people and like what their deal is and like why like when you look at um characters who are in this rebellion, it's like, okay, well, how did you get here? Why are you just the kind of person that like in your bones you're like there's something wrong and we have to make it right? Are you the kind of person who is attached to a cause and wants to belong somewhere? Are you the kind of person who is just like in it for the vibes? There's a lot of different sort of views on that, and I'm really interested in exploring them, and then also like how different characters relationships, like what is it like if somebody this has been their whole life and they care so much about this rebellion meets someone who is just kind of in it for the vibes and just likes having friends. This of course is the story of Luke and Leia.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next question. I sorry, I'm sort of like vibing and just like forgetting that I'm supposed
we're
to be
yeah
asking
we're
a
all
question.
we're all a little bit of Luke Skywalker. We're all in for the vibes.
So one of my favorite parts of the game that I've seen is the way that one must lean into their less helpful traits to gain the tokens that let them play strong moves. Not only is that a narratively interesting dynamic in itself, as far as I'm concerned, it also feels very evocative of the films for me. So tell me about that decision. What inspired it, and how it affects the stories that the game creates?
Yeah, I really like the like strong and weak move dynamic in belonging outside belonging, because it really encourages you to figure out your characters, and
Mhm.
like figure out like, okay, like what is a mistake that I would make, and hmm, words. Um, yeah, I definitely I don't like games where you're just trying to where you're trying to win in any way. I think people do amazing work with like, I'm going to like be interested in my character and their faults and then also be trying to like win this game at the same time. I can't do that. It does not work with my brain. Like there's too much going on. I think it's a similar thing. Like I don't want to play an individual character who's trying to take initiative in this thing. So I play tested a game a while ago that I thought that I was going to really like, but it was basically like, what if BOB, except you only had strong moves? And like, I remember like the first big action I wanted to do in this game was like, oh, I want to fail. And I was like, wait, I can't. Wait, I can only use this thing on my sheet to succeed. No, I want to like fuck up.
Mhm.
And it was like, it was so disappointing because it's like, well, I want to like explore this world. It doesn't have to necessarily be trying to like pursue a particular goal. I just want to like show off my characters, and like show And I think in in a story you have to fail before you succeed a lot of the time, especially in something like this sort of action adventure. You have to refuse the call, as George Lucas, quoting Joseph Campbell, would say. So I think it's really important to have those, and to have like, ooh, I'm gonna fail right here. I'm gonna do a bad thing.
Yeah, being deprived of a chance to fail feels very restricting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, okay, here's the big question. Why Star Wars? What is it about the series that inspires you and makes you want to create? Is
I
it a
ask myself
desire?
that every day.
Oh, come on, come on. Like, do you
Sorry,
want
was
to
there more
create
to that?
stories that are like that are about rebellion? Are you trying to negotiate with the stories themselves? Is there some aspect in particular that they do well that made it the best choice? What's going on here?
It's it's funny because I've had conversations with people recently where they were surprised, given Galactic, that I'm not really a Star Wars fan.
I can see where that would be
Um,
surprising.
it's funny. It's funny because when recommending the television show Andor, which is now, of course, fraught. I should mention, first of all, fraught because Disney Plus is on the BDS list.
Yeah.
So, me and Jess are both anti-Zionist Jews, so BDS is really important to us. So, like, unsubscribe from Disney Plus. Don't watch Andor on Disney Plus. How do you watch it? Who knows? Wink. And then also fraught because Jess and I were both very disappointed with season 2, but I won't get into that here. But when I was just out and recommending people Andor, I would say, I didn't care about Star Wars at all until Andor. Please ignore the fact that I wrote 2 editions of a Star Wars inspired TTRPG before Andor came out. But I started working on Galactic after seeing The Rise of Skywalker in the theater, and I went with my family.
Oh,
And
I'm so sorry.
yeah, no, here's the thing. I was sitting next to my brother, who has like no connection to Star Wars at all. And we were both having like a blast. Like, it just sort of felt like a parody of what I already thought was dumb about those movies. It was fine. It was whatever. But afterwards I started thinking, like, the Force is interesting. The Rebellion is interesting. They got some interesting ideas in Star Wars. What if I made a framework for people to be able to sort of create their own stories, and, like, instead of having to listen to, like, or instead of deciding to listen to the worst fans ever existing on Earth, what if you could just make a fun story with your friends, and you decide what the Force is and what the Empire is. So that was sort of the onus of it. And I really wasn't. It's funny because I had just published, like, probably 2 months before Venture, my first BOB game, and I really wasn't planning on going back to BOB. I'm a mechanics girly, if you couldn't tell by me immediately gushing about all of the mechanics I added to BOB. So I really like making my own systems as opposed to hacking them. But I think, like, the appeal of BOB was those pick lists, first of all, to be like, here is my list of things that can exist in this archetype. You get to now pick which ones you want, and, like, talk about that with the table. And, like, that was really important to, like, my vision of what this game would be. And then also, like, the setting elements just felt like a perfect way to set up, like, okay, here is the Force, here is the Empire, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And why Star Wars? Yeah, that's a big one. I do like stories about rebellion.
Right.
Definitely. Just generally. One of my other games that I published around that time is The Riot Starts, which is inspired by Hades Town. A musical that I literally, after watching Andor season 2 and my disappointment, I was like, wow, it hasn't been this bad since I saw Hades Town on Broadway a couple days before the soundtrack came out. And so I was seeing all of the horrible, horrible changes they made to it live.
Oh no.
But anyways, that's a whole other thing. Oh my god. But yeah, that is about, like, doing a revolution in the underworld.
Right.
And Yeah, I mean, I also just think that I'm participating in a long legacy of people looking at Star Wars and being like, I could do that. Like, I think so much of like the lasting legacy of Star Wars is that it sets up this world, and then like everybody kind of took it and ran with it. You know, that's the whole EU. That's everything going on, which makes it such a shame that so many fans now are like lore freaks, because it's like, so that's not the point. That's not. I personally, as someone who has seen the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, and Andor, and that's about it. I am a huge fan of the way that the Force exists in the original trilogy, and how it basically is just there to be a metaphor for Luke's desire for like community and belonging in history. I don't really acknowledge all that other stuff that the Jedi do. That's not in my world, not the world I'm living in.
Understood. So, moving on from Star Wars, back to the game.
Please.
If someone has, yeah, if someone has not played a TTRPG before, or if they have very little experience, they only play D&D or whatever, what aspects of the Galactic do you think might take some getting used to? And conversely, what aspects do you think will go down smoothly?
Yeah, I think it depends a lot on the person. I can imagine like a lot of people feeling either way about it. I think that there are probably people who are used to, you know, a more D&D sort of game, who are going to like absolutely love Galactic in the way that they can just like jump in and make a character. And, you know, I think a lot of games like that really allow, like my number one recommendation for, you know, if somebody's only played D&D or whatever, to like get them into indie games, is For the Queen by Alex Roberts, because I just think that it is like the perfect, like, oh, there's no way for you to power game this. There's no way for you to win. We're not even pretending. You're going to answer this question on this card and you're going to like it. Now, of course, I've also played that with campers. I was a camp counselor and I did TTRPG electives. And I had this one kid who was like, you know, we're playing For the Queen. He's like, I'm going to make the most powerful sword ever made. I'm like, okay, you do that. No, like, you're allowed to. Okay, yeah, sure. But I, you know, so I think there is like a similar element there of like, you know, just being able to see it as a game that the only purpose is to tell a good story, and so that's really freeing. But then I think also conversely, you could feel constrained by that. You could feel like you don't have enough to grab onto for your character if you want to have more like concrete things, if you want to have stats, that sort of thing. If you're the kind of person who's writing a 12-page backstory for your character, that might be a little bit rough, because so much of the power of belonging outside belonging is about creating your characters at the table. I think if you haven't played a TTRPG, it can be a lot. Like, I think belonging outside belonging games can really put a lot of you know, it gives a lot of power, but then with that also comes responsibility, as someone might say. Yeah. No, that was me just now.
Oh.
But you really have to like be ready to like create this, you know, just create this story. There's no GM. There's no one who's coming in to be like, this is the type of story you're playing. You just have to trust the group. And sometimes it, like, literally, I played a game a couple weeks ago where we just like, we're not in it. Everybody was really tired. And it was like, I don't think we can make a story right now. So, but of course it is completely valid to just do character creation and then say, we should do another session of this sometime, and then not. That's the only way to play games, actually, to me.
I've played that game a lot.
Yeah, it's a good one.
For those who want to see Galactic or Going Rogue for themselves, as you mentioned before, there are 2 actual plays going on, one from Party of One and one from One Shot Podcasts. So what can you tell us about those actual plays to rev us up into go seeing them?
Yeah, they're great. Now, I've only gotten to listen to the ones that are out so far. I would love to. I got a preview of the Galactic one, but I haven't got. I think they're still working on the second halves of them, so I can't give you any spoilers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Galactic actual play is facilitated by Jeff Stormer. And then we also got Ifi Nwadiwe of Dropout on there, which is very cool. I still haven't gotten into Dropout. I'm sure it will happen and take over my life one day, but it hasn't yet. But I did say to some friends that I've developed a parasocial relationship with Iffy purely based on the character concept that he creates in that game, and literally nothing else because I've never seen him in anything. But he's like the one guy that I've actually gotten to brag to some people I know in real life about. So that's very exciting for me. And then yeah, so that one's on the Party of One feed. Jeff Stormer of Party of One is facilitating, who's great. Party of One hosted both the first Galactic Second Edition and the first Going Rogue actual plays. So Jeff has been in it since the beginning. Huge shout out. He's just, I said this on Blue Sky like last week, because Austin Walker and Jeff Stormer did an episode of Party of One together, and I was like, oh my god, this is like the greatest day ever for people with impeccable taste in actual plays. And I was like, it's funny for me to say that right now because Jeff and Austin are the two facilitators of our APs, but what can I say? Me and Jess got the best in the game. Like, that's why they're there, not the other way around. And then the Going Rogue actual play, which, like I said earlier, I literally just finished listening to that episode, is facilitated by Austin Walker of Friends of the Table and A More Civilized Age and like 100,000 other podcasts. And he's also great. A More Civilized Age did an actual play of Going Rogue like 2 years ago, like right after their Andor coverage that Jess facilitated, which was really cool. And we were both like so impressed by Natalie Watson, another host on there, like her, because she'd never done an actual play before. She hadn't really played that many RPGs, and she was just like in it immediately. And when talking about people we wanted on these actual plays, we were like, can we get Natalie? I mean, she's not like an RPG person, but like, do you think? So it was really cool that she's on there. Everyone on both of those actual plays are awesome. Super Dylan of One Shot is also on there playing a great character. I'm so obsessed with all of the characters in both of these games. So yeah, those are great. There's also a bunch of other Galactic and Going Rogue APs. You can listen to the other ones on Party of One. I just started listening yesterday to a Galactic one that just came out, hosted by the podcast. I think it's called Can You Roll a Vibe Check For Me, which is a great name for a podcast. There's an older one on Merely Role Players where they did like a multi-episode one of Galactic. I think actually like it was like a Galactic and some of Justin's stuff combination. There's like other. It's crazy how many there are. I can't keep track. How cool is that?
That's really cool to be able to say that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, final question, and one which I hope will bring us to a nice end. What would you say is the heart of Galactic? What makes it different from other games out there, and what makes it special to you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The heart of Galactic. I mean, part of me wants to say that it's like the cool mechanical changes that I made because I think they're really special. I think the expanded token economy is really cool. I think it does a lot for the way that people play the game and like the way that you're sort of looking at the world of the game. I mean, part of me just wants to say that it's the characters. I think like I made Galactic because I didn't have the desire to write fan fiction about like Finn and Poe, which is really a shame because like, have you seen them?
I know, right?
Like I love their character concepts. Like the first thing I ever really cared about in Star Wars was Finn. Like just being like, oh, first of all, I just love this guy. And second of all, like the idea of a defecting stormtrooper is so good and so juicy. And then the movies don't do anything with it. And the concept of Poe is also really good as I like learned what his deal is, that his parents were in the rebellion. Like that's like so my shit. I love to have characters that are like have that legacy and have like weird feelings about the things that came before them. but like the movies just don't give you anything. And so I wanted to make a game where you could make characters that were worthy of thinking about and being interested in. So I think those are the two parts.
Oh,
The two
that
chambers of the heart.
warms my heart. I love it.
Beautiful.
Okay, Riley, it's time to plug. Tell us how to find your work and anything else you'd like to share with us before we go.
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky, just at Riley Rethal. I guess it's like RileyRethal.bsky.social or whatever, but like you could just type my name in and you'll find it, I promise. You can find my games at metagame.itch.io. You can back the Galactic and Going Rogue Kickstarter. I think that Jess made a bit.ly, but I don't know what it is. Just Google Galactic and Going Rogue Kickstarter. I'm sure that there'll be links down below or wherever they are.
There will be links for sure.
Great. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this here because I want it to happen desperately. The next game that I want to publish is called Music of a People. It is a Les Mis inspired game that me and my friend Laura started working on in literally like December 2020, and we did like a bunch of successful play tests, including a great Very Going Rogue Core one with Jess in 2021, and then we're like 80% of the way done, and then we just stopped. And I'd really like to publish it at some point this year, so look out for that eventually. Hopefully, it is a really, really cool game. I literally just found a tweet of mine from 2021 where I was like, man, it'll be a shame when people care more about Galactic 2E than Music of a People. And I was like, wow, welcome back 2021. But anyways, I'm really excited about that game. But right now, go back the Kickstarter. It's very cool. We got a bunch of really, really cool stretch goals. We got that fiction supplement. That's going to be awesome. Right now, we are sort of inching towards getting Jason Morningstar of Fiasco fame to write for the Intelligence, which is one of the Going Rogue pillars. Going Rogue splits the Liberation into the Parliament and the Intelligence. So sort of like the spies and like the secret people and people who are really just like trying to get stuff done versus like, the Imperial Senate, Mon Mothma sort of types. So that's just awesome. I haven't really Going Rogue is such a cool game. Go listen to Jess talk about Going Rogue on something else. It's so cool. Have I done? Yeah, that's all of the plugs that I have.
I love it.
Oh, if you want to check out my Star Wars fan fiction, also I've written probably my favorite one I wrote is one about Leia, sort of after the destruction of Alderaan, and like sort of it's like half told in flashbacks of her childhood and then half about like her on Yavin afterwards. It's called The Tree Remembers. But I've got some other stuff like more about Andor. My AO3 is RIB 14. Okay, that's all the plugs.
Wonderful. So thanks everyone for coming and for learning with us about this awesome game. If you're watching this in June, back the Kickstarter. They've got all sorts of cool perks you can get. And I think it's a worthwhile project to back. I did. Plus, there's a free lightsaber with every pledge.
Don't say that. That's not even what they're called. They're called Astra Blades. Come on.
Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And from all of us, may the space between be with you. Bye-bye.